Good morning. Can anyone tell me, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are. Can you hear me? Morning. Hello, Mr. Farmer. Can you hear me?
Yes, okay, I can hear you now clearly. In the beginning, it was a bit breaking up-ish, but it's now clear now.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Morning, Honorable Farmer. Good morning, Farmer. Good morning, Farmer. Mr. Farmer, good morning.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members and colleagues on the platform. It's 10:01. I think we can start our meeting. I want to believe we form quorum. Mr. Bauer.
Recording stopped.
If you have the agenda to flight so that everyone is aware of what's going to be discussed today.
Chairperson, today is the consideration and adoption of the committee's annual performance plan, consideration and adoption of 2 sets of minutes. That would be it, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bauer. Once again, good morning to all of you. I'm not sure if we're all in Cape Town or we still have members who are in their provinces, in that majority of the meetings for this week will be virtual or it's hybrid sitting. I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone and thank you so much for joining the meeting and on time. And I'm sure you have managed, I don't know, Mr. Bauer, how many have been able to respond. I know you said we've got time limits in terms of submission of the traveling forms for those who are available to go to that vessel. So those who have not submitted those forms, please do so that at least by Thursday, everyone who has an intention of going has been able to submit, and they're part and parcel of the delegation that has been approved by the institution. So without any further waste of time, I will then invite Mr. Bauer and the team. I'm not sure who's going to make the presentation, whether yourself or Kobas, but whoever's going to make presentation on the APP, please take the platform and make the presentation. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. I hope I've got sharing rights, Aska. What I would like to do with your indulgence, Chair, is just run through a small recap presentation that I decided to put together last night when I was preparing. I have just sent it to Aska and asked him to forward it to members. My apologies for not sending it through earlier, but I finished it late last night. Aska and myself were having a challenge with the continual changing of the programs and trying to work out exactly what the third and fourth term would look like. So we were still working with that quite a bit after hours. But I wanted to just recap on a short presentation. And then I have the APP as far as we could get it in terms of the topics of focus, because it's the first proper planning session that the committee has had since being formed. The first APP is also a little bit more involved in that it still contains the table of topics that would guide the committee's focus for 5 years. So I also want to just, as I go along, clarify that I am not trying to load every single potential focus area onto the committee right now in this year, but that it is a reference to the 5-year strategy of the committee, followed by
Recording in progress.
Followed by the APP's focus of the year. So I just want to get that presentation on screen, oopsie, and then get back to sharing. Oh, why is my... Where's the... Sorry, I am just suddenly having a struggle with my Zoom platform. I am not seeing my share button. Oscar, can you perhaps just assist? I don't want to waste the members' time while I am trying to understand why my view... There we go. There we go. Sorry, I've got it back. My apologies. I don't know why.
Old equipment coming to the end of his life.
No, I just don't know. I suddenly had the reduced screen instead of the full screen when I had opened up Zoom. My apologies. It's not how I wanted it to start. So as I said in the introduction, we are resuming our strategic planning. I wanted to recap just some of the key points. I am of the position that there wasn't any controversial challenges that the committee had in terms of topics or approach, but I wanted to recap some of the key points again, especially also since Chair was not well during the planning session, and I just wanted to run through some key issues. So the content would be just recapping some of the key constitutional references used to focus the strategy of the committee, then update on some of the sources of information that informs the plan, expanding on types of engagements proposed. This is largely due to the fact that we are so time constrained, and I am trying to bring in ways of dealing with an issue without turning it into a committee meeting in order to allow the committee to focus on as much as possible. And then lastly, the list of suggested engagement. And as said in the introduction, that's the 5-year potential engagements, not the current APP. Now, on the recap, the key points that informs how this plan and annual plan is put together is trying to avoid oversight overlap with the National Assembly committees as far as possible. Then the second point emphasis is focusing primarily on where the work of the national government is impacting provincial and local governments and their functionality in delivering services as one of the key motivators. And the third point is ensuring provincial interests and local government interests by extension are taken into account in the national sphere of government. So those two major focus areas for the committee. And then also in terms of the way oversight is structured, geared for fact-finding rather than solely focusing on accountability of the executive, where the National Council of Provinces is positioned to seek solutions to problems that impact all three spheres of government. So those were the types of focus quotes out of the Constitution that informed how the strategy of the committee evolves. In terms of the sources of information, I thought I just wanted to recap on this because it wasn't really highlighted in the initial session. And apart from the legacy experience of the committee and research that is brought into the committee, which is typically information that is sourced from either academic sources or media or interaction with the department or a member question being researched. Apart from those research-based inputs, there is also the interactions of the permanent delegates and their constituencies that inform the strategic plan. And also what I have captured, especially now that departments are being split and new executives are assessing the position of their departments and their sort of provincial and national competencies and the performance of these. Many of them are performing situation analyses and stakeholder engagements and publishing the outcomes of these in their strategic plans. And these are wonderful sources of information where the department themselves highlight challenges that they are experiencing or highlighting the opinions of their stakeholders in terms of where the department could improve. So this is also a fantastic source of information in terms of matters that should be resolved. Then thirdly, where any other official government document or presentation that the committee receives highlights cooperative government and intergovernmental relation challenges that fall within the committee's mandate. The example of this is where the committee had a number of engagements with the Auditor General's office. Now, some of the issues that the AG raised are perhaps better suited to be addressed in the national sphere, but other matters that has made it onto the tables of engagement proposed for the committee had been raised by the Auditor General, such as their audit outcomes for the management of solid waste management sites and wastewater discharge sites and pollution management within the local government sphere. So where the committee is approached by a government entity or another research institution with information like this, it can also inform the planning of the committee. And then finally, when we started emphasizing the potential of legislative review for impact and correctness and functionality of the legislation that Parliament has passed since 1997, official reports of ad hoc committees also start playing a role. There were many recommendations made in reports such as high-level panel reports and the Zondo Commission's reports, and the committee can and should follow up on these recommendations to gauge implementation of the suggested improvements that were made in these reports. So that is the background on what all went into the planning of the committee. And now this is a proposal. It is not an instruction from the Secretariat by all means. This is a proposal that I would like to make in terms of expanding the types of engagements that the committee uses to follow up on challenges. The main motivation for this is the time constraints that the committee is faced with and the frequent changes that the NCOP makes to programs doesn't help. And the number of plenary sessions that the NCOP has that constantly prevents opportunities for full day or multi-day engagements. When we sat down with our APP and with our second term program, one of the first things that Oscar and myself ask each other is, where's the list of plenaries? How many full Tuesdays exist? How many opportunities for a multi-day workshop exists? And these are frighteningly few. The NCOP has a multitude of engagements that require the committee members' attention and makes it very difficult to schedule meetings. And having 5 departments, it also means that there are 5 times every type of formal budget or APP review that has to be performed annually. plus then the sectoral parliaments. So when the committee reflects on its APP and its annual or its quarterly plans, then what it really boils down to is there's about 28 engagements from 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock every year that is guaranteed for committee business. Everything after that is a challenge to find an opportunity for committee business. And 28 times 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock is very little when you have 5 key departments under your oversight. So what I would like to propose and put before the committee is where issues could potentially be addressed to a fair degree with a question to the executive. The sort of theory behind this for me is to try and see if it is possible to gather enough information from a question to a minister that the Secretariat can then analyze the question, supply the question with the analysis to members, and then interact with the committee in terms of whether any follow-up is required or whether the matter is answered in enough detail to put to bed or to report on or to then schedule a meeting on if necessary. In this way, a number of matters that could be potentially taking up a committee meeting day could potentially be resolved through interactions with the executive directly. It's a proposal. It is not something that is cast in stone. The fourth bullet point there is where there's cooperative government and IGR matters, it is proposed that the committee takes a planning perspective of looking at least 2 terms ahead on its program and identifying the type of committee, type of meeting that will have a CG and an IGR flavor to it, where multiple spheres of government or multiple departments are involved, and that the key stakeholders are identified up front and are invited to the very first meeting, rather than having a situation of meeting with the main entity affected by the matter, and then from that point trying to determine who is all needed to resolve it. So the proposal is to have a forward-looking approach to planning, and within the constraints of the NCOP's fluctuating programs, trying to at least determine a month or so in advance who would all be needed for the type of meeting to be as successful as possible. And the rationale for this would then be to reduce the number of complex meetings that are required to address a multi-sphere challenge that the committee is focusing on. Again, it's a proposal put before the committee. It is not a statement that this is how the Secretariat wants to do things from now onwards. It's proposed that it is considered. Then I'm of the opinion that the strat plan was circulated with members, not the strat plan, the APP, as far as the Secretariat could develop it. We are challenged by a lack of knowledge up to today of exactly what the rest of the year looks like, and the fact that we had just have our second term program pushed forward by another 4 weeks, which meant that we have got a very small amount of time left in the third and fourth term to plan with. But we don't know the start and end dates of those terms yet officially. So what we have is the full list of potential matters before the committee for the remainder of the 7th term. And then also ASCA has circulated the updated second term program, which was due. And because they extended the term, we have had to add some of these meetings to the program already. Now, I apologize for that. I would ideally have wanted the committee to scrutinize the program before it is presented to them. But in terms of the second term program, they, on very short notice, extended it by 4 weeks and still demanded a new program to be submitted within a day or so of doing so, which puts the Secretariat under pressure to very quickly add meeting topics to the program. What I have done in terms of the APP document is break it down in as many different types of engagements as possible. The proposed study tour is right on top, and at present the discussion is still revolving around the 2-country visit, studying the implementation of Paris agreements in governments that have similar type of executive and provincial and local government structures as South Africa, and that are closely aligned to the United Nations and implementation of the Paris Agreement. And then also in the same region, look at a country that is very well equipped for waste to energy recycling. In terms of matters already on the attention, we have had to change that already. So that little column is, my apologies, that column is outdated, but the inconsistencies between policy, legislation, and regulations in the small-scale fishery, that is already receiving attention as a legislative review, but the meetings that are already scheduled have changed, and I'm not going to dwell on that one right here. We can discuss it if the committee wants to discuss the second term program as well, but that section was changed the moment we had to change our second term program. Now, the third category is proposed items that the committee could address through meetings or questions to a responsible minister. This is where the approach difference comes in, and any matter that could better be addressed first as a question could make it onto a list of questions. Anything that the committee feels is better done as a meeting stays a potential meeting. Not everything on this list must be done this year. I need to emphasize that because this list is a massive list. It is not at all possible to fit it into this APP. It is the 5-year focus proposed for the committee. So what we have is the AG registered challenges with local government competencies related to waste management and air quality management in local government settings, the challenges that local government faces there. We have the annual budget and APP meetings for all 5 departments. Those have to be in the plan because there is simply no opportunity to avoid doing these. The third matter is social, environmental, and economic impacts caused by illegal mining. There's a number of different challenges associated with it, and it is also linked to another point on this program, which looks at the development of small-scale mining to try and entice some of the individuals that are partaking in illegal mining, if they want to formalize their mining activities. Government is looking at supporting small-scale mining, and that is linked to this point. Fourth point on the list is financial allocation and annual rehabilitation capacity of acid mine drainage interventions. The situation is pretty dire. The committee has focused on this matter before, but hasn't had any recent updates. This is the type of matter, so by the way, that I think can be dealt with as a question to a minister, just to get an update on what government's current capacity is with dealing with acid mine drainage and mine rehabilitation, and whether the situation is improving or worsening. It is a key concern, especially in the Reef, Highveld, Gauteng, in those areas, abandoned mines and poorly remedied exploration and mining operations is causing significant damage to groundwater and a number of other issues. The fifth point is impact of Eskom debt on municipal administration and finances. Now, again, this could potentially be probed as a question to the executive because there was a short discussion in the committee about whether government's efforts to write off some of this debt would assist municipalities or not. From my perspective, what I have read about it is that the amount of debt owed to Eskom is not being reduced at present. It is growing still. Therefore, I think one of a valid probing question would be to ask the executive directly where the current government interventions is going to alleviate the problem, or if it is going to continue hamstringing not only Eskom, but also local governments struggling with revenue. Sixth point on this page is underperforming departmental entities with specific focus on entities that have a direct influence on concurrent and local government competencies. That is also linked to AG reports and other government documents that highlight where underperforming entities are slowing down performance at local government level. Seventh on the list is environmental, social, and local government impacts of repeated applications by Eskom for extensions to or exemption from air quality compliance. The implication for local government is very difficult here. If one looks at the current legal environment around this challenge, the Eskom and SASOL applications cite the economic viability of adhering to environmental regulations, while the legal challenges that the Department of Environmental, of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment and local governments has to face challenges the constitutionality of these exemptions based on the poor air quality that the communities then suffer. So it is not a situation that can be left to try to sort itself out. There is either compliance with air quality or there is non-compliance, but there isn't non-compliance without impact. And this will remain a major challenge in a lot of Highveld, Mpumalanga, Gauteng municipalities, especially those that have heavy industry and power generation located within their boundaries. It is something that simply must be resolved. It is constitutionally proven that these exemptions create health risks and cannot simply continue forever. So some solution to the socioeconomic challenges of compliance has to be found. Eighth point is implementation, monitoring, tracking, and evaluation of all departmental conditional grants. There's a number of these in agriculture and in electricity, and definitely are well worth giving greater focus to. Point 9 is biodiversity loss, including engagement with key monitoring and enforcement agencies or stakeholders around the challenge of succulent, amphibian, and reptile poaching in the succulent Karoo and the potential impact on the local biodiversity economy. One of the main matters here, not everything that's being poached is potentially commercially exploitable, but a fair number, especially the succulents that are being collected illegally, could be grown by government-supported entities and sold to collectors. A potential for green economic development for the communities around the areas where these plants are being illegally harvested for international trade is therefore possible. But at the moment, there is very little attempt to provide the illegal trade with legal alternatives in that sphere at all. It is something that is worth seeing if it's potentially possible to develop. Point 10, administration of enforcement notices and the inspections of environmental authorizations across all departments. This is the issue that Jeannie has highlighted as a background paper that the Secretariat will develop as a trial for bringing in a detailed information about the topic to the committee in order to make it possible for the committee to evaluate whether the situation valid or requires further meetings to engage on, or whether the topic is possible to resolve in another avenue. So that will be reported back to the committee in due course by the Secretariat. 11th point is the implementation of the renewable energy sector master plan. And there has been a view expressed within the management of the committee that there's a need to bring this information to local youth and entrepreneurs in previously disadvantaged communities. At present, the IRP, all of the calls for proposals in terms of renewable energy options are massive scale interventions. There is very little being done to try to develop the smaller scale economies around the renewable energy master plan. And this is potentially an opportunity also to engage with the ministry to determine what kind of opportunities are being created for the small scale entrepreneurs, because at local government there's potential interventions, provincial level and national level there's interventions, but the master plan seems very heavily focused on the national level without bringing sufficient opportunities for local government level interventions and business development in the renewable energy sector. The 12th point is benefits that communities get from the National Biodiversity Economic Strategy, including community forestry projects. This is a topic that the committee has not had sufficient exposure to, and it is well worth getting a benchmark from the department on the performance of their community forestry projects. In short, the department had, in areas where there were successful land claims or in areas where community economic development was considered, had made the decision that the management of some commercial plantations, not indigenous forests, planted exotics that are being managed as commercial plantations, should be handed over to local community beneficiaries as a form of economic development. And this is well worth following up on in terms of performance and challenges experienced and lessons learned. Next point is the impact of social and labor plans in specific mining communities, evaluation of projects, expenditure, and lessons learned. It's concerning that communities in general still express little support for the impact of social and labor plans. And these are key motivational points that the department gives in terms of benefits to mining affected communities when the department is asked what benefit there is for local communities from mining. So the fact that there is continued unhappiness about social and labor plans remains a concern. The next point was highlighted earlier, economic impact of small-scale mining support, especially in light of the fact that there's such rampant challenges with illegal mining. There's a need, I think, for the committee to understand and to respond to why there is such a large amount of illegal mining versus what is being done to attempt to develop the smaller scale mining operators that want to be in the mining sector? Is it purely a case of economics? Is it a case of regulations? What is making, for the most part, people turn to what looks like illegal operations rather than government efforts to support a small-scale mining sector's growth? 15 is energy sector perspective of the implications of the Paris Agreement targets and NDCs, Eskom and Sasol exemptions from emission regulations. This is an important meeting from the perspective of the committee sitting on both sides of the fence of the Paris Agreement. The committee oversees both the implementation of as well as the economic impact of the agreement on the energy sector. And in initial engagements with Eskom and Sasol in the 6th Parliament and recently in the 7th Parliament, both these entities had expressed their concern about the economic implications of the stricter environmental regulations that is coming with emissions regulations and the outcomes of the switching to lower carbon economy focus of the Paris Agreement. So without wishing to choose sides between the Paris Agreement or the energy sector, there's a need to understand the economics that drives both sides of the agreement, both the need for the implementation of cleaner energy, as well as the need to understand what it is doing to the existing energy sector and industry. The 16th point there is implications of the departmental split on shared program funding directed at farmer support, with specific focus on the department's approach to farmer support and market access. This, again, is suggested as a potential question to the executive to first see if there is any need for a meeting. But in short, the funding programs of the department in the past had shared both the rural development portfolio and agriculture portfolio at the same time. Now that it has split, there's just a need to understand which department is playing which role, and is the funding staying stable? Has there been any losses in funding and such, just to make sure now that the department is split, exactly how the support to the small scale sector and the recipients of land reform will be structured, if there's any significant changes to note. Point 17, departmental requirements for the resolution of outstanding land claims in specific provinces where a high number of outstanding claims remain. That one's self-explanatory, as well as departmental vision for CPAs resolving endemic failures and underperformance. The challenge remains. It has been chronic since the formation of CPAs, and there is a need for it to be brought to a point where a decision is made about it. It is becoming the same kind of a challenge as the extension support offered to small scale and emerging farmers. Since I have been a researcher in Parliament since 2012, extension has found itself in recovery, and it is not feasible for a service to the community to be in crisis mode or recovery mode for decades on end. At some point, the service must work. And I think the same needs to be said for CPAs. If all recipients of land reform are grouped into CPAs and receive land under CPA functionality requirements, then everything possible must be done to make those CPAs work, because a poorly performing CPA impacts on that community's ability to use the land that they have received. and it cannot be left to be a mess, because basically without a functional CPA, the community does not fully benefit from the land they have received. Either the CPA structure needs to be focused on, or the ability of the CPA to work needs to be focused on, but something needs to be done. Final point on this page is biodiversity legislation implementation and perceived subservience to commercial interests. The threat to the African penguin population of South Africa is listed as an example there. The situation is focused on what in the country seems to be the most important factor when an issue is addressed, whether the biodiversity challenges that the country is facing is going to be considered, or whether the commercial interests that are causing the challenge to biodiversity is going to win in terms of what developments are allowed and what developments are turned down when there are developmental applications, either mining or fishing or construction. There's a multitude of different impacts, but at present it has been a great concern that a challenge such as the threats to the African penguin population has also been left for at least a decade to be properly addressed. It seems as if the only time there is ever some kind of a response from government in terms of biodiversity threats is when they lose a court case about it. Now, it's a sensitive matter to them, and they do not like that kind of assertion being made, but that is invariably what happens. The poor air quality on the Highveld was them losing a court case. In terms of fisheries, the small-scale fishery sector development, it was forced by a court win for the small-scale fishers. The threats to the penguin, again, it took a court action before something was being done. And it's a concern that the environmental management of the country seems to now revolve around whether a court case is pending on it or not. And I think it's worth engaging with the ministry and just saying it is a concern that it appears that court action is when biodiversity is being considered, and for the rest it is just something that is playing second fiddle. So that is point 19 on that engagement side. The oversights I'm not going to dwell on, because there was input given on the previous planning session on the proposed Eastern Cape oversight. What came up in the conversations is that, or past meetings, is that the executive was of the opinion that when they visit the Alexkor and Alexander Bay to assess the current situation there, that the committee was invited to come along, and close to that Alexkor mining site is potentially also the developments around Boegoebaai, which has piqued the interest of the Northern Cape representatives of the committee. So I do not know, we haven't engaged with the executive in a number of weeks about the proposed visit to the Alexkor site, but that is something that was mentioned in the past. There is then also an agricultural support successors of the small-scale farmer targeting that's proposed. The rationale there would be to try and find what works and what doesn't work. The AG's report revealed a lot of infrastructure and tools of the trade and consumables standing in stores, but not a lot of functioning farms. What would be ideal would be to visit farming support that works and that doesn't work, and to develop an understanding of recommendations that need to be made to ensure that where money is spent, the money is spent effectively. And the fourth possible oversight is in the Western Cape, was also highlighted in the presentation, and that is the management of mining applications in the coastal zone of the Western Cape, where if one looks at the mining rights that are being applied for or that has been awarded, almost the entire coastline is under right or under application. And this would have impacts on tourism, it will have impacts on biodiversity management, it will have impacts on fisheries. And again, the question would just be to the department, what is the overall plan that is managing the granting of rights along this section of coastline? Because there has to be some form of master plan. It can't simply be a case of everything is under claim and there's no consideration for no-go areas or fishing zones or marine reserves or anything like that. There has to be some kind of a master plan. And then the fifth point, I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe it was raised in the discussions in the strat planning session. And this was around revisiting the high-file priority air management area after all was said and done about the court cases and the need to republish a management plan and a need to deal with the pollution in that area. After those court cases, there have again been applications for exemptions from Eskom power utilities regarding a need to not comply to air quality standards that the department wanted to bring in and had brought in, but they had supplied exemption to some of Eskom's utilities. So the challenge there remains. The air quality is not sufficient on many days, and court has ruled on the matter, yet the energy supply of the country also has to be considered when trying to resolve the problem. It's a very tricky situation, and it's well worth revisiting to have an honest conversation with everybody involved in terms of the real impact of what is going on there in terms of air quality and what the realistic ways will be to address these challenges. Then legislative review, I don't want to dwell on the full list because as a review takes an amount of time, only the small-scale fishery sector review has been activated in this APP cycle and most likely will require most of this year to complete. And therefore, with the committee's indulgence, I've listed other matters that have been found, but I simply don't want to dwell on them for the sake of this APP because the review on small-scale fisheries policy has been initiated as a key objective to be finalized in the year. And we are already experiencing challenges with feedback meetings simply because we are stuck in that 10-to-1 meeting slot. We cannot find meeting slots without APPs that are from 2 o'clock onwards. Oh, no, sorry, APPs, plenaries, my apologies. So we are already having massive planning problems trying to find full days in which the community and experts can be met with on this legislative review. And it's an issue that we have to take up with the NCOP because it's going to continue impacting the work of the committee. But these are available if members wish to see what is potentially on the cards for next year onwards, or wish to criticize, add, suggest something that is not at the moment as listed as a potential legislative review. And then a review of the APP and strategic plan documents of departments after they split had reviewed that agriculture and rural development departments, rural development and land reform departments, had gone through a process of stakeholder engagement and had listed issues that stakeholders raise in terms of the department's functioning. And I had extracted a list of these that I have added to the annual plans documentation, but none of these have been fully fleshed out or discussed with the departments. So I think it's 8 on this page down to point 15 on the final slide. So there are 15 areas of CG and IGR improvements that the departments have listed in their own strategic plans. And I consider this a wonderful opportunity to engage on these, because if the department lists them in their own documents, then at least the hope is there that there would be a positive outcome for an attempted engagement on the matter. My proposal for the committee would be that the second term is already fully assigned in terms of committee activity. There's the oversight, there's the budgets, the 5 budget meetings, and then there's the meetings that had been scheduled. What I would suggest with the committee is that there should be time set aside in the second term discussions, just informally, to go through this list and to perhaps prioritize issues that the committee believes could be addressed as fast as possible. I have not fully fleshed out a top order versus lesser stress hierarchy for these. So number 1 isn't necessarily more important than number 15. But these issues had been brought forward by the department themselves, and I propose that the committee takes time in the second term to fully develop an approach around at least some of these towards the end of the year, and to see if maybe 1 or 2 of these matters can be programmed for committee meetings. It would require multiple meetings on each topic, and therefore I would also suggest that there's a need to engage the NCOP around the challenges that the committee is facing with finding a Tuesday without a plenary in it. Also another reason to push these into the 3rd and 4th term, to try and see if there's some way around the fact that the committee only has 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock for most of its meeting days. So those are the CG and IGR improvements that were identified. And yes, that is the full 5-year list of matters that have been identified so far. I'm going to stop sharing this presentation. And I think at this point, I am sure that there might be a bit of discussion that will follow, but we have circulated the full APP, and I'll hand the committee meeting then back to you, Chair, and we can see how the committee reacts to the issues that were highlighted in this follow-up meeting. Thank you for the speaking time opportunity. I appreciate it, Chair. Thanks. Back to you.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Juste. I know you tried your best to somehow summarize, but I'm sure Oscar has sent the detailed one. It will be unfortunate that it had to come very late last night, and we believe that members will go through it over the weekend, and some of the suggestions that may come from having indulged the full presentation will then be sent through to Oscar, and then we'll see, because this is not cast in stone. We all know that the program changes from time to time, but at least we have an idea of what needs to happen. The unfortunate part is that this is supposed to have been a 5-year plan. We're already on the, like I'm sure in the next few weeks, we'll be concluding 12 months since we're in the institution, or since the establishment of the 7th administration. So technically we're left with 4 years, and we have seen the amount of work that we need to do. I can't remember from the top of my head how many entities and agencies are there that were supposed to oversee, outside the fact that there are departments that were supposed to see. And some of the departments have got more than one responsibilities. For now, agriculture is the only one that is mainly agriculture. And then you have land reform that is coupled with rural development, that I also believe that it will go hand in hand with agriculture. We have fisheries, the number of issues within fisheries. On its own, it's big and it's too broad. You've got environment, the climate change, and take into consideration the quality of the air, and number of things that has to do with mining that environment has to play a role in, and a number of things that we have to do. All I'm suggesting is that we've got so much that we need to do, and I'm sure members also have suggestions. Members also feel that we should have considered this, we should have considered that, and I'm going to allow members to raise their views in relation to the APPs as presented. It's not final. We can always make amendments here and there. If we could, maybe we could, I don't know, agree that in a year we've got four quarters, first quarter until the fourth quarter. Maybe we should agree that in every year, henceforth, each quarter will be dedicated to a specific topic that we want to engage on. For argument's sake, in the presentation, there's a mention of African penguin. If we agree that maybe in the next quarter, our main focus with Department of, I don't know where the African penguin will fit in. Let's say, for argument's sake, it fits with the Department of Environment, Fisheries, and all of that. If it's that, and then we agree that with this department in this quarter, this is what we're focusing on. So we don't do number of things that end up making us look as if we're not doing work. So we have thematic a topic for each and every department for each and every quarter. And if we feel that this quarter has concluded and much of work has not been done, we can always say, no, we're continuing with this particular thematic topic until we feel that adequate work has been done. We've tried with fisheries on the small scale. If we agree that moving forward, we agree on the thematic topic, it will assist us that quarterly we focus on a specific issue, concentrate on it until we feel that as a committee we believe that we have done significant work, there's movement from the department, and therefore we can move to the next one. We have not done much on energy, we have not done much on electricity, we have not done much on mineral resources. Petroleum, we've tried with minerals, but we have not even scratched the surface. We have not done much with regards to rural development. We have not moved with regards to agriculture. So there's so much that we need to do. And I suggest that quarterly, let's have a topic or area of focus, and then we move. As much as we have suggested yesterday to members who might not have been in the meeting, that probably in our joint oversight visits that we do in provinces, we should no longer share in a week. We must not push to have both committees, economic and land, doing work in a particular area. So if we go to the Eastern Cape, let's not do what we did when we were in the Free State, that we always push and rush because there's a topic that must be attended to and so on and so forth. So when we get to the Eastern Cape, let's focus on issues that has to do with economic development. If it's special economic zone, for the whole week, we focus on everything and anything that has to do with economic development, such that in the next joint oversight committee, we focus on issues that has to do with land reform and rural development, or minerals and energy and so on and so forth. So that our focus and now the quality of work that we want to produce, it is there, it can be seen and it can be felt. So let me allow honorable members, those who might want to raise hands. Let me see if I can see. I see Member Boshoff, hand is already up. Member Boshoff will be number one. If you can't raise your hand, you'll just indicate by indicating that you want to speak. Member Pina's hands is up, will be number two. If you can't raise your hand, just indicate that you want to speak so that we can put you on the list. I see number 3 is member Mabilo. I see member Van den Berg is number 4. Going once, if you can't raise your hand. Going twice, if you can't raise your hand. Gone, for those who can't raise their hands. So we've got 4 members, Member Boshoff, Member Pina, Member Mabilo, and Member Kobus van den Berg. Member Boshoff, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to everybody on the platform. May I start by extending my congratulations to Kobus and your staff for a well-drawn-up PowerPoint presentation. It did assist because I did not have time to go through the complete APP. With regard to what you said, Chair, quarterly, that we spend time on one issue. Those were my thoughts exactly, but I was going to take it further to say that we concentrate on 2 and keep a third one in abeyance, on hold, that should we be able to, within a quarter, see that we have reached a solution or a way forward on the specific topic that we were speaking to. The one that is third in line then also be brought in so that we have continuation from one quarter to another. And there was something else that I still want to... All right, what I wanted to speak to was the interventions that Kobus spoke to, where we directly question the executive. If we can just get some background info on that through you, Chair, to Kobus, what he actually meant by that. Is that we speak to them in their offices, or is the direct question through our question opportunities, written questions, or is this during an oral question session? That's it from me. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Boshoff. Let's take Member Pina. Kobus, I hope you have noted the clarity seeking from Member Boshoff. Member Pina.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. And Chairperson, I'm glad you are back. I was sorry to hear about your illness, but I trust you are in good health as we speak. Chairperson, yeah, also in line with Honorable Boshoff, in line with, maybe I must also put my camera on. In line with Honorable Boshoff, I would also like to take my hat off to Kobus. I think this is an extensive list, and it also reminds me of the fact that we have, as a committee, a huge responsibility. And I think, you know, if I go through all these points that was raised with regards to suggested engagement, I think, Chairperson, hopefully you will lead us that we focus on the critical ones first, obviously. And I also agree with you with your sentiment where you say that we should rather not overload ourselves and engage in a tick box exercise, but rather have our focus on less issues, especially when it comes to engagements, and not try to load our fork full and say, yeah, we did all this, but did we really change anything? And I think we all can agree that we want to make changes to the areas where we see concerns, and I hope we can laser focus on certain areas with your leadership and the committee to narrow our view with regards to the areas we want to focus on. And I think we should I fully support your recommendation on that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Pina. We now move to the Northern Cape and take Honorable Mabilo.
No, good morning, Honorable Chair. Thanks for the opportunity. Greetings to my colleagues on the platform, and obviously our salutation to the technical team. for the work well done. I support and join my two colleagues in appreciating the work done by Mr. Jost and the team. The work itself is quite detailed, is comprehensive, is coherent, and it assists us as a committee. In other words, it simply means that our work is clearly cut out. Thank you very much for the team for the positive assessment. Yeah, I think I also want to support your vision in terms of us refocusing on the areas that we have done little about since we were all entrusted with this huge responsibility to the Select Committee of Agriculture and its attendant other departments. And for me, Chair, I think the issue of highlighting the entities is quite spot on, because to a great extent, we have hardly scratched the surface or the barrel of the gun in terms of some of the key entities that falls within our purview. So I think the oversight role that we are supposed to play is more nuanced in that regard. And I think your analysis as a chairperson of the committee is assisting us in this regard. As well as we need to be current with all the developments that happen within the Select Committee that we are oversighting. For example, we know there's a huge debacle right here in the Western Cape, which is a court case between SANParks and a mining company that wants to mine in a protected mining area in a MPA. And SANParks is up in arms. It's as you said, Chair, that like Joseph said, there's a need for us to have an appreciation of the balancing act that is required in terms of preserving the environment, which is our core mandate as a country, as a Select Committee, and as citizens of this country. Secondly, is also to ensure there's development. But I think we need to start having an audit of all those. There's a recommendation, the first recommendation that I make. Not all of us are clued up with major other developments of this nature. So I think maybe there must be a way of tracking so that we have Parliament alert. Then we have for the entire committee, Select Committee on Agriculture, we have to say, these are the current challenges that are topical, that are relevant. Then we keep track and we can follow and get progress. The minister must come and brief us what is happening, how far is the case, etc., so that we do the necessary impact. We know, as Member Boshoff has stated previously, Mpumalanga, Highveld, we have had a number of class actions there where the community there, I must indicate, the non-governmental organizations are very robust and very strong in terms of taking environmental issues up. And I think they are doing an excellent work. But I think through you, Chair, we recommend that as well. We should have an impulse or our pulse on what is happening in the major mining towns where there's massive air pollution. And we've got to oversight their dust settlement mechanism and also the air quality in some of the municipalities. If you remember, Chair, as I conclude, these were some of the questions that I posed to the Department of Forestry and Environment when they tabled their briefing last year, to say, do we have an audit of the state of municipalities in relation to capacity? Myself and Kubos comes from the background of municipalities, and so are other members in this committee. We can say without contradiction that minimal attention is paid to the question of air quality, and so many people, there are statistics from the United Nations to say in the world how many people die because of air pollution, many other related issues. So therefore, Chair, I also suggest that we sort of try to touch base in all the provinces that are mining orientated, especially mining that there's serious contamination. We know in the past that asbestos has been banned in many countries and in the world, but the ramifications of them are still there. I know it will relate to Koksta in terms of the asbestos roofs and many other asbestos schools and other old areas like Atlas, which is about 200 km from where we live in Kimberley. Some of the roofs are still asbestos related. So maybe if there can be a cooperation between us and Koksta to get an audit at least of what is the impact or the elimination program, eradication program of asbestos schools, asbestos this thing, and check then how can we contribute towards the recycling of some of the materials and so forth. So those are the areas, Chair, that I would like us to focus on. I like the notion of your master plan, Chair, as articulated by Justin in relation to a lot of issues. Maybe I recommend that we be given in the next meeting a summary of the Paris Agreement, so that not all of us might be clued up with, so that we get it in that regard. Maybe taking it from the Kyoto Protocol and the recent one in Abidjan, where myself, I was interested to attend early this year or last year. So that then the Select Committee of Agriculture becomes not an idea in the air, but then we deal with the concrete issues that affects our communities. Lastly, Chair, I think I agree with the proposals by my two colleagues, Honorable Boshoff and Honorable Pienaar, supporting your view on the thematic approach. That was one of the points that I picked up and I was going to articulate, to say a targeted approach is going to have more benefits for the entire value chain, if I should use that word, in terms of impact, in terms of making a difference. And lastly, Chair, your articulation in the aspect of the joint visits, how streamlined that should be, it will be important. Finally, I think the fishing, the West Coast, visited by some of us last year, remains a template that can be replicated, refined, recalibrated, and make us relevant. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, for the for the opportunity, and thanks for us as well, as Mr. Pienaar indicated, for your speedy recovery. Thank you very much for the work well done by your team. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you so much, Honorable Mabilo. Now that we are done with the province of Mpumalanga and Limpopo, we'll remain in the province of the Northern Cape and invite Honorable van den Berg on the platform.
Thank you, Chair. I hope I'm audible. I think I am. Let me know if there's a problem. I also would like to say thank you to the work performed by Mr. Jooste and Oscar. I did go through, to a large extent, this document, the APP. It is quite bulky, 75 pages. I think I got to 32 and I realized that I'm not going to make it in time for the meeting. But then I did jump to the back of the document, and I saw that there was some budgetary information, etc. I did, however, do have some feedback and small points that it looks like in some of these areas that has been discussed in the APP, it's as if a pre-assumption has been made, and from that pre-assumption, then we as a committee will be working on it. Now, I don't think we should discuss it there because I'll take us back. But personally, I feel that our focus on agriculture per se is we're not focusing on agriculture to a large extent. And if we look at our main goal in this country in terms of creating jobs and work opportunities, I would have wanted us to concentrate there more. Then also in some points, and I did highlight them, I'm just going to quickly jump to them. I won't go through all 70. At the DFFE, we are looking at nature conservation, but we are excluding the national parks and the botanical gardens, and also the marine resources. So I'm not exactly sure why the term excluding has been inserted there. Also, local government competencies, looking at fencing and fences, but the varmint control issue we are not addressing in terms of troublesome wild animals. Anyway, I think I should send my notes to you, Oscar and Kobus. There's one about clear water, etc., but we are saying nothing about the priorities to expand on our water reserves and dam formation, building of dams, which will also create work. So it's little small nuances, things that I perhaps personally think would work better if we can concentrate on it. There was one with the land distribution where assumption has been made about the ownership of the land, but in actual fact, it has been proven many times that the numbers are not correct, and also the sizes versus the feasibility of the land is not taken into account. So it's as if we are starting from a wrong footing because we are not dealing with the true facts. I don't think it's going to change, and you have a lot of work, and this committee is going to sit and we're going to work very hard. So with what you have, thank you very much. It works. It's good. But yeah, we'll probably tackle these issues as they come along. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Honorable van den Berg. Mr. Juste, there was a clarity seeking from Honorable Boshoff. You please respond to it in relation to the question.
Yes, that one is straightforward to respond to. What I am proposing in terms of some information can best be gained through questions would be written questions. I'm not suggesting that the members of the committee has to find time to make appointments with ministers or any other form of avenue to open up to the executive that doesn't exist right now. I'm purely focused on written questions that, if answered accurately by the executive, would go a long way to make the committee understand the situation and hopefully also be able to finalize their focus on it. It is not every situation that will cover it, but it is, I think, a useful approach to consider. Then I just want to know, Chair, do you want me to comment on some of the other issues raised, or?
Yeah, no, comment on the things that
Okay.
you've picked up from members as concerns.
Okay, in terms of the theme approach, I appreciate the suggestion, and I quickly looked at the rest of the term left. Now, we have at least 16 quarters left, which means that if we take what's on the table and rationalize the list in terms of issues that can become questions and issues that can become themes and issues that needs to be prioritized, there's a lot of what's on that list that can actually be covered if we do it effectively. So I'm quite excited about working on such a proposal. The feedback to the committee, I think, is very close to a monitoring and evaluation system that can be implemented so that once we have a themed oversight approach, we could also develop a feedback session or feedback requirements to the committee on progress or on news that pop up. What we tend to do inside of the Secretariat is wherever we read a newspaper article that we want to remember, we kind of share it within the Secretariat so that we've got that memory bank of it so that we can go back to our chat and see, oh, we flagged that issue, we flagged that issue. So that can be done on the entire group as a flagging of emerging issues as well. It'll be very easy to do it. I just don't want to kind of spam committee members 11 o'clock at night, which is typically when I notice things and send them out. But we can make a note of issues and also develop a feedback of current issues pertinent to the committee and sort of develop a channel of updates like that for the committee. That is something that we will definitely highlight in terms of what we need to do in the committee. In terms of, a lot of the stuff was comments. In terms of the suggestion on the Paris Agreement background, we will definitely work on that document and bring it into the committee for members to look at. In terms of our focus that seem to miss out on some parts of agriculture development, I think there's going to be some dialogue needed within the committee as we prioritize. But one of the key points that has to remain, in my opinion, as a backbone of the focus of the committee is the concurrent and local government functions. It is an NCOP prerogative to deal with provincial and local government matters first. And therefore, if you look at that list of competencies, a national park is a national competency. Now, as with the example highlighted with the phosphate mine application along the West Coast, if we only apply the national department rule, then it's not our business, but it is a mining-related environmental impact in a national park. So then it becomes something that the committee is interested in. So it is possible with committee input to explain where the focus of the committee is, but any matter that the committee finds particularly compelling can be considered. It is just a challenge when it is a national competency to potentially be able to find a resolution for the challenge. And that's why that list of concurrent and local government competencies are there, not to tell the committee they're not supposed to take an interest in a national issue, but just to highlight which issues should be on top of the list for the committee when it plans its program. In terms of commercial agriculture and water supply, therefore, those are the matters that mostly fall within water and sanitation or the National Agriculture Committee. But it doesn't mean that if there's a matter that's of particular interest to a member that it can't be brought up. We'll look at the written inputs that Member van der Berg sends through to us and then act accordingly in terms of analyzing and responding to them. But when the national competency falls completely in a oversight activity of the current PC. For example, the challenges that was experienced by the Ngonyama Trust Board. The PC actually went there in the same week that the chairperson raised an interest to go. And the content advisor of the PC then came back to me and said, can we just have a discussion around your committee's interest in the Ngonyama Trust, because we've just been there and it might create confusion if we visit a community and a week later the NCOP also visits. So in certain instances, a topic is on the agenda of the PC as well, and then some working relationship has to be developed about who has got the mandate to look at these issues. But it doesn't mean that because something is more aligned with the national interest or the national competency of a department that the committee must leave it alone entirely. we have, because of our programming challenges, tried to focus extensively on concurrent and provincial local government issues. But if there are members that feel that there's too much of agriculture that's now being cut out, then we will have to discuss the matter, because we don't want to make provinces or members feel as if we are not interested in pertinent issues. So I think that covers most of the input. As I said, we'll await the written inputs and then expand properly once we see those. But yes, we are going to create holes in what looks like our focus when we only focus on concurrent and local government issues. But the challenge is our time. And that is right now what has informed this phase of the planning. When we go into our themes, we will be fine-tuning, and then the discussion will continue on matters that members believe should be on the agenda. Right now, we try to cut national out as much as possible, but if it's too much, then we can have that discussion, Chair. Thanks.
Aska Bawa, Kovas Juste, Jenny Leroux, Amanda Zilani, and Bulelo Fekan. Take a bow. The committee appreciates your dedication, your commitment to the work that you do. It's not every day that you get to be praised in a meeting. It's always easier to be criticized as opposed to being appreciated. And I think you must be proud of yourselves. Maybe now you'll realize that I'm not a slave driver. It's just that there are certain things that needs to be done, and I appreciate how we work. And the committee is seeing that work. So please, don't drop the ball. From here onwards and upward we go. With that having said, and I believe that the presentation on the APP, yes, I heard someone.
No, sir, it was just me clearing my throat.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, as with that having said, and the clarity being provided with the concerns that were raised, and with the understanding that there would be more of the ideas that will be submitted in writing, so that we enhance the document, and the fact that we are agreeing that maybe a focused approach will assist us in achieving more than being all over the show. I want to lobby honorable members on the platform, because all of you here are lawmakers that at times, and this is my observation, that there are burning issues that needs attention of the committees that we both lead, Member Boshoff, but the response from the institution as opposed to the response from the National Assembly, it's quite tedious. If there's a burning issue, you will see, let's say, for argument's sake, a Department of Correctional Services. There was a video of one chap who was seen on a video who's in prison, making a video telling people how nice it is to be in prison and all of that. They're living large. A day later, the Portfolio Committee on Correctional Services was in that prison. Now you ask yourself, do they also get subjected to this procedure, this tedious and cumbersome process that needs all these signatures for them to be able to travel? Or it is only with the National Council of Provinces where we have to submit, and we need about 3 or 4 signatures for a simple trip to go and do? Because I don't believe that we should only be subjected to oversight visits. There are issues, Member Boshoff, that has to do with special economic zone somewhere in one of the provinces that might need an urgent attention of the committee. Why do we have to be subjected to these cumbersome processes? But when it comes to the National Assembly, they're always able to be everywhere where there are issues that need their attention. And I think it's something that we'll have to go back to the institution and raise sharply, that this process is tedious and it's unnecessary. I have a problem personally where, like now, I'm sure you have seen when this thing of the Department of Forestry, where the minister is asking us to join him from KZN to Cape Town. There are about 4 people that must sign there. Some of them don't even sit in our meeting. And you ask yourself, what then happens if this person decides not to sign and they don't sit in our meet, they don't know what we're discussing. They rely on the information that they get probably as a feedback from the team that is working behind the scene to say this is what the committee wants to do and so on and so forth. I personally feel that there's so much that is happening in the institution that is holding our hands and our legs tight, and we're unable to move as fast as we would like to. And these are some of the issues that we need to raise. Mr. Bauer, with the time left, can you kindly flight the minutes that we need to adopt? I want to believe we have gone through them as well.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
Chairperson, yes, Chairperson. The APP document for adoption, we will leave until we get Mr. Van der Berg's notes and all the other members' notes. Then we will clean the document up, send it out again for adoption at a later stage. The first set of minutes would be the 1st of April. I'm putting it up.
Thank you so much. Let's move to the second page. I'm just doing this for formalities, but I want to believe members have gone through them. And if that is the case, honorable members, you would remember this is a meeting we had I think it was on the day that the official decoupling of ministries was taking place. We had Minister, was it Minister Mantashe in the meeting, if I remember correctly. But yeah, these are the minutes. Can we have
my hand
can
is
we-
up.
Yes, Member Boshoff.
I move for the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Member Boshoff moves. Do we have a seconder? Yes, Member Mabilo.
Chair.
Member Mabilo.
No, thank you, Honorable Chair. I formally rise to support the adoption of the minutes as proposed by Honorable Boshoff.
Boshoff.
That is
Thank you so
indeed,
much, Member Mabilo.
Yes, thank
Member Farmer, I see your hand.
Thank you,
Member Farmer.
Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson. There on the minutes, next to my name stands the word apology.
Next to your name is what? Patriotic Alliance.
Oh no, it's corrected now. The word apology was next to my name. No.
I saw it. No, I saw it. That's
You
up
were
really.
there, Farmer. You were there, Honorable Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Member Farmer. The
No,
next set of
Chairperson,
minutes.
Read
Yes,
it
sir.
again.
the 1st of April, it says Mr. Farmer Patrick Clown, but it says an apology was tendered. So I will go back and check the records. I was not present in that meeting. So I will go back and I'll amend it if it just says that Mr. Farmer gave an apology for that meeting for the 1st of April. But it says Patriotic Alliance there. But
Yeah,
I'll go back
Chairperson,
and I'll amend it.
Chairperson,
yeah. Member
Chairperson,
Farmer.
my humble apologies, it is correct. I was not present at that meeting. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's move to the next set of minutes with those amendments made. Mr. Bauer.
No, there was no amendments. Okay, 8th of April.
The 8th of April is when we met with the Deputy Minister of, is it Energy and Electricity,
That's
right?
correct. That's M46,
Okay.
correct.
All right. And we still have a standing issue with Nexa and all of those ones. Yeah, but let's move. Let me go to the members. Member Farmer, your hand is up, or is it legacy hand? Okay, it was
Legacy
a
Chair, my
legacy.
apologies.
Okay, can we have a mover and a seconder? This is when we were in the M46, and
That's correct.
we
yeah.
we had the Mineral Council. Is it Mineral Council of no safety, mining safety? What do you call them?
Mine health and safety.
Yeah, that's when the committee said no, they must not present, and I was proposing that they present because they were already here. Member Pina, I see your hand, followed by Member Boshoff and Member Mabilo.
I move for the adoption of the minutes, Chairperson.
Member Pina moves for the adoption. Member Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Chair. I second the adoption.
Member Boshoff seconds. Member Mabilo.
No, that's in order. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Both sets of minutes have been adopted. What's on the agenda after the minutes, Mr. Bauer?
Your closing, Chair. Your closing and blessing.
Oh, okay. Honorable members, we have come to the end of our meeting today. The APPs have been presented. We have not adopted them because we want to give honorable members an opportunity to go through them individually, make suggestions where possible, send them through so that when we come back, we'll have a clean, refined APPs that will be able to adopt and send them through to the institution. Those of you, as a reminder, who wants to be part and parcel of that vessel, please communicate with Mr. Bauer, fill out that form once again, so that on Friday you are able to travel to KZN, so that Saturday you are able to be on the vessel. I am made to understand that there will be a media contingent that will be there. There are some children or students of some high school that will also be there that will be asking questions. There is a lab of some sort or science something inside the vessel that will be taken to, and any other issue that you might want to experience or raise, please prepare, especially for media interviews, because they might want to speak to you as a representative of a political party within a collective of the select committee. I don't know what's the protocol of that, but just in case, everyone please prepare so that when you are asked to give an interview, where you are not caught unaware or unprepared. With those few words, as those who are asking questions to the ministries later today in the sitting, best of luck, and we'll meet tomorrow in the meeting at 10 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Chair. My
Member Boshoff?
hands, sorry, I know you've done your closing remarks. Could you give us a due date for our possible responses to the APP? Thank you. To enable the staff complement to capture it. Thank you.
What? Hello?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Oh, Member Boshoff, I couldn't hear you. The last thing I heard was that could we get
Okay,
something
let
about...
me repeat myself. You've now said we can go through the APP, and if we have any responses to it, we must submit them, but we need a due date because the APPs must be in by a certain date. So if you could just give us... Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mr. Bauer, what's the date from the institution?
I'm not too sure, Chair. They change it all the time. But could we say by
Okay.
Friday? Could we receive all submissions from members by Friday?
No, let's be considerate. Remember, we've got other committee as well that
Monday.
you also want to make. Yeah, at least next week, Monday, honorable members. I'm not sure what's the actual date of next week, Monday.
Next
It's
week,
10, 11,
Monday
12,
is-
it's 19, eh?
That's correct, Chair. On 19th.
Yeah, May 19, 2025. Let's make sure that we have submitted any suggestions towards the APPs in order to make sure that our APPs are in order, are aligned, and it's something that we were able to do and were able to achieve. I hope that assists everyone. Thank you so much, Member Boshoff. Say by end of business, by 1700 hours on Monday, can we have all the APPs ready for submission or suggestions that needs to be submitted? 1700 hours on Monday, May 19, 2025. All of them should be sent directly to Mr. Bauer. Don't send them on the group and say, no, they were on the group and all of that. Let's, all of us, send directly to Mr. Bauer. And lastly, this is from me to all of you honorable members. Please, please, please. The 30th of June is the last day of our submission for our members' interest in terms of business and all of that. Let's make sure that we also submit. so that the institution does not make examples of us. Please, let's submit our whatever, what do you call tax returns? I don't know what you call them, but let's submit towards the institution. I thank you very much, and the meeting stand adjourned.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning, Farmer.
Morning, Mabilo. Thank you, Chairperson.